Hi all and welcome to another Rapid game. So I've just issued a challenge and Tommy Kitok has accepted my challenge. So let's see how we will fare. Maybe we can play a King's Indian game today. He's a strong player, but you know, I've been known to manage strong players in the past. So who knows? So far it's just a main line, right? Now this is with h3. So maybe what they want to do is with g4, huh? Continue with g4 and stuff. Maybe I can confuse him a little bit and go knight bd7, not castle just yet. But this h2, h3 move I don't really know, so it already confuses me, maybe complicates the game. Because I cannot really get into the positions that I'm more familiar with from the main lines. Now he goes bishop, right. Okay. Well, I don't know, there's not a lot of time to think about all of this. But in general, I just like to kick that bishop. You know, before, okay, this move. I wanted to say before queen d2 is played. So how can we continue here? c5 looks like a normal move. But then we get this Benoni type of structure, and I don't really want that for the moment. So I think I'll just ask my opponent if he wants to go into... Well, I don't know if I want to play e5. Because then after e5... there's always queen d2, and I may have some trouble castling. Yeah. Well... So do I dare castle or not? Or do I play e5? So already I'm confused, it's incredible. If I castle, do I need to be afraid of his, his pawn marches in the center and so on? Where does my counterplay actually come from? He wants to go g4 there. So let's just not castle yet. Let's not give him that. But you know, this just takes me a minute to make this move, and maybe it's just not really so relevant to think about all of that so early on. Yeah. The sorrows of a chess player. The sorrows of a chess player. Tom McIntosh. I think that's maybe the correct pronunciation of this name. But I wonder why so few people use uppercase these days, you know, to indicate surnames and Christian names. Might make a little bit more sense to do that. So now it's attractive to play knight c5. And if he takes that on c5, at least he will have lost his bishop pair. And I'm not so sure if that fits in with his plans. So, yeah, let me just play this and ask him, so how are you going to defend e4 now, huh? There is no natural, let's say, knight f3 to d2, because there's still no knight on f3. So in that sense, it was also logical for me to attack the dark squares. He might just take that, but then, of course, I will recapture. If he goes queen c2, which is the other natural defense, then of course I will go a5, because otherwise b4 is a threat. So let me just play this now. Yeah, he's still happy to go g4 somehow. I'm looking at b6, so that if ever he takes my knight, I can always recapture with the b pawn. And that's more convenient, more solid than having to recapture with the d pawn. So I think I can still do that and remain flexible. What is his idea otherwise? I might just still castle sooner or later, but for the moment let me try and be flexible. Let me just play b6. I somehow like this move, and I'm beginning to grow into the position a little bit. So now I need to find other moves. Normally bishop d7 is a decent move. Also knight b d7 can be a decent move. It also depends on how he wants to play on the queen side. Does he, for instance, want to play a3? And in that case, can I answer that with a4? Normally I should answer that with a4. If he then takes on c5, I recapitulate the b pawn, he plays knight takes a4, but then I can play knight takes e4, because then the queen would be overloaded. The queen has to protect both e4 and a4. So that looks like a good line for me. If he plays a3, he is also not yet really threatening to play b4, because the rook on a1 is unprotected. So that always makes sense, just to go around the horn and see where your target is. So the king can be put in check in one move. This rook is unprotected. This rook is unprotected. I'm attacking this pawn twice. This guy is unprotected. You know, so there are some targets along the way here for me. Now, how do I get rid of the paint? Maybe just click on one of those squares, and that will remove the paint. So, where am I weak, for instance? Well, since my position is maybe slightly cramped, there isn't really a target yet. Well, or it should be the knight, because that can be hit by the pawn in one go, but for the moment, of course, that is pretty well defended. This is why I put the pawn on a5, of course. Otherwise, I don't really see it so much. So now I think he has to come up with a plan. Not sure he wants to castle queenside, even though my pawn structure is not ideal to play for breaks there. But there may always be tricks when I play a4 and then I try and sacrifice the knight on b3 with check. And then if he takes that, then the a file will be opened up. But of course I would need more pieces handy there. I'm not so much afraid of his f4 break, because I could take that and clamp down on those dark squares. You know, and I already have this pretty nice long diagonal. I could also reroute pieces to make use of that situation. So then what am I afraid of? Normally h3 is a signal that white wants to go g4. But g4 here in and of itself is also not a big deal. Maybe I could even answer g4 here with h5, but then of course he'll go f3 and maintain some sort of space advantage there. And if I castle, there may also be chances for him. So where is actually my play going to come from? Yeah, so here he goes, here he goes. I think sooner or later you want to play f5, which is basically the only break that we still have left in the position. But in order to do so, I think I would have to castle, put my king on the h file, and then try to play for f5 anyway, right? I would also still need to move my knight, but that one could go to f5, and I might just be safe enough. On the other hand, if we play along this scenario, there will be a rook on g1, a knight on f3 jumping to h4. But the h4 square might still be, you know, controlled by me. So this is a very important moment already. Should I go? Yeah, I sort of squashed myself on the queen side. I don't really have breaks there anymore. This is a bit of a problem. Can I play yet another, how to say, flexible move and just see where he's going? Well, in that sense, I think bishop d7 is a useful move. And I'm not going to give him a target on the king side yet, so I'm not sending my king over there yet. I'm trying just to be very flexible here. This is a useful move with regards to queenside play. Also sometimes when the knight jumps to b5 and hits my my pawn chain base, which is basically only defended by the queen, then there's always the opportunity for me to play bishop takes knight and take it from there. Of course, it's not something you want to do lightly, because you give up your best bishop there and the bishop here in general. But maybe he'll tell me a little bit about where he wants to go also. So if he plays g5, then he's breaking up the team, yeah? I think in that case I could take, and then if he goes bishop bishop g5, then I might just even try and exchange that bishop with bishop h6. Yeah, and then that structure looks to be fine for me, because my rook is still on the semi-open h file, so I'm not thinking that he's going to play that. But sooner or later he also has to move his knight on f3, but then there's less control of g4, but that's maybe not such a big deal for him. Well, maybe it is, because then I might be able to castle. Yeah. Well, sooner or later I think I'm going to have to castle anyway, right? I might just also try some dark square control play here. Let's say I go knight h5. If he goes h4, then I can take on g4. That's the beauty now that he has played knight f3, because bishop e2 is not protecting that. So let's see. If I'm then allowed, I can also try such moves as bishop f6, but then he takes on h6. Yeah, so knight h5, even if I go to g5, then he'll just play h4. And I did not really achieve anything. So now that his knight is blocking his f-pawn, I might also consider h5. Yeah, I might also consider h5. Of course, if he takes, then that's not good. But if he doesn't, I might be the one opening up the h file there. So I'm expecting h5, g5. But after g5, I might just play knight h7 and then h4. But I'm seriously weakening myself on the king side, and I really don't know if there's any play there. So I might just again see where he goes if I play a4. If he plays if I play a4, and he castles, then he's connecting his rooks. So then he might be just threatening the immediate b4. That's a little bit problematic. I could castle, he goes b4, I take, he takes with the a pawn, and he has typical King's Indian play. And one other final try for me would be to play, if he castles, for instance, bishop g4, h g4, knight g4, hit him on the dark squares there. But I'm not so sure. That already feels a little bit yeah. Okay, let me just go with castles. It feels a little bit desperate already. Huh. Okay, so now he's overprotecting g4 again, and maybe he wants to play knight b3. I think I should try and look for my counterplay fast now. But where's that counterplay going to come from? He's controlling f5 1, 2, 3 times, but I can also try and control that 1, 2, 3 times with knight e8. It still feels like I'm vulnerable, huh? There. Okay, but now he has removed his knight, so it cannot really jump to h4. So let me just try this move, knight e8. One other try of this move is that maybe we can first include queen h4. Queen h4 is not really something that is going to help me after knight f3 or something. I don't think my queen belongs there. On the other hand, f5 is now really very critical. There is still quite a safe square for me. Yeah, knight b3 check is also never really a threat. He will also just go king b1. So he wants me to go f5 and then maybe just sort of kill myself, but I don't see any other plan. Oh, the other plan could have been queen e8, knight knight a4. Let's go with f5. He takes, I take, and now then he goes f3 probably. Yeah, okay, let's just try that. Come on. Why am I thinking so long about all these super typical moves? What is a chess player thinking of during the game? Nonsense, basically, yeah? There's only one open file, yeah? So I'm threatening to play f4, lock off quite a lot of his pieces, I think. But it would also lock off my bishop, of course. But I have to go with my hunch. Okay, now this knight on e8 needs to go to g3 somehow. That would be quite nice if I can manage to do that. I don't think he has a threat yet. So let me just go there. This might still turn out to be quite a decent position for me. So I'm gonna have to put my king on the h file, I think. Funnily enough, maybe. Not so sure this is correct, because now I will play queen e8. Also, the bishop on h4 is hanging. Do I have a trick of some sorts? I don't think I do. I'll be hitting the bishop here of the queen h5. And as mentioned before, if he plays knight b5, I think I can just snap that one off, right? I'm afraid I have to snap that one off. Okay, now should I go into the line of fire for the queen? Or should I just immediately go queen h5? Then he can take on f6, and I would have to recapture with the rook. That's a bit awkward. Well, I don't know if that's so awkward. I mean, it is the fastest move, you know? I can also just play knight h5 and intend to sacrifice a pawn over there. That would be quite nice, otherwise my knight is not so useful, huh? So let me just try and do that. So queen h5, let's say he goes back to f2, and I haven't really achieved a lot. Yeah. So I'm just gonna go with this move and try and coordinate everything. It's a gut feeling try, of course. h3 is also weak, so he, after some showdown on the king side, and when he's tried to double his rooks, yeah, so if I sacrifice my pawn on g3, then I think it's safer for my king to just be on the dark square, because there might be sacrifices with f4, and if I take that, then all of a sudden there is a discovered attack with e4, e5 against my king. So I think I'm gonna prefer my king on h8. And you know, maybe I don't even have to sacrifice that pawn immediately. I can also just play king h8 and then bishop f6, and then ask him, so do you want to take? And then I have a much safer blocker of the g3 square. Of course, there's knight f1 for him, so he can really contest g3, and after knight f1 there's also the subsequent plan for him to go knight h2 to g4, and it feels still somehow that that he is very fast there. On the king side as well. And from g4, of course, that knight would be hitting all kinds of lovely squares. I might be even forced to snap off that pawn sooner or later. But I'm going to try and make use of my entire army. So the healthy move is maybe not to jump into g3 so fast, but just to deploy the army, right? And when I... Wow. Okay, he wants to put yet another piece on b5, but I might take it twice and just play something like rook c8, protecting that. Yeah, so what kind of move is that? It's really a bit of a strange move, huh? So I see knight g3 only, and I see king h8. I have to go with my hunch at this particular moment, or are we going there? Because now this guy cannot go to g3 anymore, to f1. So knight g3 takes rook, but then he's quite fast on the g file. So let me just go here. Yeah, so one plan is just to go bishop Bishop f6, huh? Yeah, I think I like that. There's sufficient resources there for me. Okay, so let me just go here. If it takes it, I'll just play this, and I will be threatening also not just knight g3, but rook g6 as well. Yeah, but now it seems I'm really taking over with this move. So I like my position. I do like my position. Oh. Oh, that one looks a little bit vulnerable to me there. I really don't know what he's going to do. Well, of course, yeah, he's hitting h6. That's a bit of a problem, maybe. Well, let me hit him then. I'm not sure this is the best move, but... If the other rook now... I might just try... Yeah, this is nice, huh? Let me just try that. Knight g3 he takes, and I just take... Just take on g6 then, because now it seems his rook is a little bit trapped. So that's tactics for you. That's tactics for you. Okay, so e2 is also attacked now. I'm still trusting in my bishop takes b5 if a knight appears on b5. I think that plan was a little bit too slow to go with both knights to b5. And you know, as it turned out, it was quite alright for me to play on the king side. But what happened if he would have played knight d2, f1, h2, yeah? Just for the moment overprotect g3, then all these ideas would not really have been possible. Yeah, let me just take this rook, and then there will bishop check, and then I will just have to go back, of course. But now this bishop is en pris. And my next move is just probably rook g8, taking over the g file, because I should play with the rooks, because I have the extra exchange, and this extra pawn on f3 is really not so impressive. Of course, my king is, again, you know, in the line of fire. Yeah, but I'm not too afraid of that. After f4, I will probably just not react. Let me just take over here. And I think the next strong... I'll have to look for my targets now, and I still have this problem with c7. Yeah, but... Okay, so what's that all about? Bishop g5 looks very attractive, but there's also rook takes rook. Yeah, let's just try this. He has to go there, now the other. There is the bringing in of the rook. Okay, let's bring in the rook. We'll just have to play a little bit faster now, I think. Maybe it was stronger to go bishop g5 there immediately. Yeah, I think it was stronger to go bishop g5 there, because I would have had better access to the... it's a bit of a pity, better access to those dark squares. Okay, so this is where I'm sort of screwing up my advantage. That was bad. Pity, pity, pity. Well, there still is queen g5 and bishop e3. Yeah, I don't have to do that immediately, right? I can also just go bishop c8 here. Not take that just yet. Yeah, but bishop c8, then I will never be able to take that anymore. Okay, so let's just go here. Then he will take with the other knight, of course. Bishop g5 was more or less an immediate win, I think. So now I cannot really allow him to win my pawn on c7. I think a strong try for him now is to go h4, because otherwise I should have played bishop d5 there. That was not very good, was it? What does he want now? So let me try this. I should have exchanged of those bishops. Now it's technically a very difficult task. Huh? He still has the two bishops. Okay, there was another plan. No, bishop h2 was not possible because of bishop c5 and queen takes h2. Yeah, it's difficult now to involve my knight as well. How could I involve my knight? Well, he might even just try and kick the knight. You know, with the b3 stuff and so on. Okay, I think I'll just have to try and play a few moves here. If he takes that, of course he'll go back, right? Yeah, I'll just go bishop e3 for sure. No! What? Okay, but now it should be plain sailing. Now it should be plain sailing? No, not really. Well, I can go here. He takes, I take. He cannot take on c7. Okay, but don't I have a stronger... I think I have a stronger option here. But I also don't have too much time. I think I can't really lose that position if I just try and maneuver. So what is strong here? Yeah, let's just try this. Come on, here we go. Okay. That's sort of interesting, I guess. Okay, I'll just keep harassing him. Well, shall we try and play this endgame? I'm still looking at ways to try and involve. To get a better endgame, a stronger endgame. Yeah, this is sort of okay. Now that I'm controlling f4, my knight is still there, yeah? My knight is still there. How nice. There may be tricks along the f-file. Yeah. For instance, if I go king g6 to get a better endgame with the king, and he sidestepped that with queen f2, then I have knight e4. Yeah, so that would be one way to make use of the knight and make some progress. Okay, now I'm also up on the clock, yeah? That's quite nice. Yeah, it feels like a winning position. So that's the plan, yeah? King g6. King g6. Okay. Well, I wish I had Carlsen's technique, then I would be able to play these positions very fast. You know, just build up and then find the exact right moment to trade down. So, okay, we have to be very accurate now. It's going to be tactical, but I'll have a little bit more time on the clock. The position is difficult for him, obviously. King g6 is the plan, yeah? And then to take on e3 and then to go king g5 h4. And then I would consider that to be a winning endgame, for sure. Okay, now I think it's also quite easy. Let's just run it up, come on, run it up. There's no king f2 because of knight e4. There was not knight e4 right now because of king e4. I might prepare that with rook f4, but then he gets to take on c7 with some counterplay. I don't think I ever want to allow knight c7. Okay, that's just stepping off the f-file, but I'm just going to be breaking through, I think, here. I'm also seriously up on the clock. I don't really see what he can do here. The position is very clear cut. He still cannot step on to the f-file there. That's smart. That is smart, isn't it? Okay, but let me just go here, and you'll have to keep guard. That move. Now I'll bring my knight to f4. I'll just have to be careful that I'm not... Oh, this is just a pawn. I'm picking up a pawn here. Yeah. Okay, that's good. You can go somewhere and I'll just take here. And then I think it's just resigns, basically. Yeah, there's also king. This is just a very good pawn. Let's just take that pawn here. Okay, now, wait, I have to be careful. I have to be careful now. This is a bit strange, because I might just be somehow locked up. No, let me just go in. It's never mate. There will be a check, but I'll go king h2. That's fine. And then there's knight a4 coming back. And I can take it from there. Oh. But now I can just take this one. Okay, thank you. Okay, is there not a tactical solution here? Incredible. There must be some sort of a tactical solution here. So I'm gonna have to... The tactical solution might be g4. He takes that and I go rook f2. And then the threat is... yeah. That looks best somehow. I can also just take there. And then there and then there. Yeah, I'm not so sure if that's correct. Did I make a mistake after all? It's just incredible, huh? Okay, let's just go with g4. It's not so nice because he might have a later on he might have this knight b5 again. So that was a mistake once again. Knight c5. Yeah, I think knight c5 is a threat. No, that will be a horrible blunder. Bishop F1. Okay, let's go here. Come on, I must be able to outplay him now, surely. Okay, let's just go here. Oh, how we can screw up chess games like that is just horrible. It's starting to look like some sort of a mate. Okay, this. How did I botch this? It's just incredible. I really botched this. Okay, this. Now threatening the check. Okay, here we go. I don't see his plan, to be honest. Yeah, let me just try this. Check. Well, that's a queen, isn't it? Yeah, okay. I'll take that. This should just be a win check. Yeah, okay, we won it, guys. Excellent. Okay, so now let's analyze this. That was quite an interesting game, but wow. So it feels like I should have played bishop g5 earlier there. Then, of course, you know, this whole plan on the king side, I'm not so sure. And then knight b2 turned out to be very dangerous because my knight was in the box there. It was a long game. But let's just go from the top and also see what theory tells us about this. So h3, yeah. So knight bd7 is a perfectly playable move. But maybe we should just ask the masters how they've been playing and not everybody on Lichess. You're supposed to castle here. Nah, okay, let's not go with that. Knight bd7, bishop g5. h6 is the top choice of the computer. Now here he goes back. And here most masters play e5, but it seems to score pretty well for white. But still, it's the top choice of the computer, and you know there is this obligatory white advantage in the position. So d5, there's some space there. So knight e5, okay, I'm still following along the masters. They're following along the masters here as well. Now bishop e2. And I tried to play a little bit more flexibly here. So you can castle immediately, or the more flexible move, bishop d7. But the top choice of the computer is b6, what I played. And now there are no more games played, so we can leave the theory from here. So it was around 10 moves of theory. Now here they go, g4. I still play flexibly, so the computer also still agrees with bishop d7. That's nice. Now knight f3 is fine. Yeah, I really don't want to play moves like c6. h5 also felt very passive. a4 as mentioned, then I think he castles and he's threatening b4. So now it's not the top choice of the computer. So he is suggesting h5, but then what could be the plan after this? Knight h7, and I'm really quite boxed in. I know that the break is f6 or f5 here, but can I be too happy about that? So let's ask the computer what black might be threatening. Castles here anyway, but it doesn't really feel like a very positive or optimistic plan, to be honest. Well, let's continue down this line a little bit. Yeah, I would also expect h4. And then sooner or later I will have to castle. Let's just see how the game could develop. And now what are they suggesting for white? Knight d2. Yeah, white also isn't the easiest of play, but he's up a full point, you know, because of the space advantage. And now normally you would want to play something like f6 to pressure g5, but it's very difficult to attack that for a third time. f5 might be played, but then of course, you know, I'm also, yeah, I don't know. If we just enter this into the computer, I don't think he really likes it. So he thinks that he even wants more light square control by eliminating this knight, so bc5. Now how will he continue then? E takes f5. Yeah, so if I recapture with the bishop, then he has all the light square control, and then he will be definitely dominating. And the problem is I cannot recapture in the normal King's Indian way, because if nothing else, there is this, yeah. So I don't really like this plan of h5. It doesn't have any positive prospect. So let me just go after knight f3 with castles as I played in the game. Knight d2 was played, normal move I suppose. And they just want us to play c6 all the time. I don't really, well, I mean, I understand that you want to take, and especially if they take with the knight, you get to exchange knights, and that will relieve black's position. But what happens here if you play it more strategically? Okay, well, yeah, there is of course extra pressure now. And also, you know, if such a pawn disappears, then there are also these subsequent jumping opportunities for the knight. So this might have been an important moment, that even in such a structure where I don't have any light square control anymore in the center and on the queen side, that I might still try and play for this break, just to give my pieces some more breathing room, and make use of my dark square control. He is not so extremely fast in attacking my weaknesses here or here, because I'm very well developed and he still doesn't even have a piece on the d file. Okay, well, I played more typically, you could say more amateurishly, just trying for this f5 break always. Everybody does that in the King's Indian because it's the only thing they know. The same holds true for me, the one-trick pony. So castles, yeah. And f5 now is just bad. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. So I didn't falsify this properly enough, because if it makes such a jump and I falsify properly enough, then I should be able to understand that it's not a good move. Now they say g takes f5 is an inaccuracy, and they want to start with the other move, e takes f5. So of course I was going to recapture like this, but again, maybe the story here is that I've lost control of e4 because I can no longer control it with a pawn, of course. But they also say, yeah, come on, you're just opening the position for me here, you know, I'm much better developed. My threat here is to open up the g file or play h4 and so on, and it's just all the big guns. Yeah, this is really the idea of the g4 line against the King's Indian. I understand now why it may score so well, because, you know, black players cannot sit tight and they have to move their f-pawn like I just did, yeah. Okay, so again, I'm learning something about these structures. f5, g takes f5, g takes f5, and again, maybe, yeah, it would feel that you would have to take here on f5, or you just allow f4 and you just take on c5 next move and you play on those light squares. So for instance, what is suggested here with he1, sooner or later I will have to sidestep, and then you take, they say, and then since you did not put your pawn on f3, there are still opportunities for white, you know, to very quickly bring in his pieces. And yeah, this guy is not very good, this guy is not very good, this guy is not very good. Yeah, this guy might also jump here, and if I have to give up the light square bishop, then this light square bishop will get all the stronger, you know, it might just go here or here, really harass my king, take over control of the g file. So this is the type of play that I should not be allowing, but fortunately my opponent just makes quite a bad mistake. It's a reactive move what he's playing. Instead of just going for it with all his initiative and development, he now allows me this to block. Now I played knight f6, which is fine, so the position is sort of equal. Yeah, the only reason why white would be better is because he has a little bit of space. And as mentioned later on, there was this maneuver, for instance, yeah. And when my knight is on h5, I can also not play h5 to keep that knight out. So there were still ideas there for white. But now it feels that maybe bishop h4 was also wrong, because it was difficult for the bishop to maintain itself there. Of course, I unpin, it's now 0, 0, 0. Well, it says 0.7, but all the lines below it says 0.0. And I'm just going for the bishop on h4 and the square on g3. So I have the feeling that this is where the game is turning. He played now rook d to g1, which makes perfect sense. Yeah, I played this move, knight d to b1. Yeah, that was a strange move. I think this plan was basically too slow. So now I'm just consolidating on the king side and using my dark square control there. Knight a3 was played. And now I went with bishop f6. Yeah, the computer also likes that, bishop f6. Bishop f2 goes back. I think that's also recommended, because if you give me immediate dark square control, I would play like this. And of course I would just hop in here, attack stuff, and also behind the protection of my knight, I would just very nicely build up on the g file. So yeah, that's something the computer doesn't like, so he has to go back to control the dark squares for as long as possible, not let my pieces out of the box too quickly. But I continue here with the solid queen e7, absolutely fine, and rook g6 is a mistake. Yeah, it's a mistake, because even though the rook hits a pawn for the moment, it's also a target, it's unprotected, and I'm just attacking it. And now the rook should go back, which means that I won some time and I can just immediately continue with either rook to g8 or bishop to h4 stuff. Rook g8 looks very solid. Yeah, but of course his plan was maybe always to go here, but now this is just a tactical blunder, and I was alert to it, so I played knight g3, and this just really blocks the defense, and now the rook has nowhere safe to go on the g file. So he decided to make the best of it. Takes, check, and of course I go back, and he also has to go back. He goes to e3 now. Yeah, now I have to play with my extra rook, so this makes perfect sense. He sidestepped it, and yeah, here I made a mistake. I said I should have gone bishop g5 immediately. Instead I went with the slower rook g1. Well, it's not slow because it's a very forcing move. I take something, it's 5 points he has to recapture, but it makes sure that he keeps his dark square bishop on the board, and the dark square bishop was an important defender for him, just to try and stop me from creeping in over those dark squares even faster. So if I would have gone with this, then I would have had a better position. The computer suggests that, well, the bishop is attacked, and it's also the defender of the rook on g1, so I'm threatening to even eliminate the defender with check. So he says, well, you'd better take, and then of course we take like this. Now we're threatening the rook. If the rook takes, then the queen comes to g5 with check even, and that would have been much better. So you see, my play would have been faster. So what is suggested here is some sort of I don't know, rook h1 or queen f2, defense of dark squares, rook h1, and then, well, if nothing else, there's rook a to g8 dominating. Yeah, okay, so that would have been better, definitely. I should have gone with that. What I played was also still winning. Rook takes, he has to take now. I hit him again, of course. Yeah, I don't really like bishop takes c5. No, I think this is better. Bishop h4 was also there. This check apparently was well, slight inaccuracy also, maybe, because yeah, why would I not confront this bishop immediately? Of course, this would still trade off the bishop. Am I crazy? The bishop cannot go here. If the bishop goes here, I'll just pin him again and win that bishop. Come on. Okay. That's bad. That's really bad again. Anyway, this check was a bit of an impulsive move. King was pushed aside. Yeah. Again, I could have tried something like bishop h4. I was freeing up the g5 square, and I understand, you know, I understand. I was trying to accomplish something like this. But it's minus 2.2, because now he gets some sort of counterplay. Bishop e8 I was not considering. So I took that. That was always the plan. Computer is fine with that. And now it's rook g7, just consolidating, so I can move my queen from the protection of the c7 square. Position remains winning, but tactically more difficult to achieve the win. And he really did put up a very good fight, trying to box in my knight there later. So here goes, bishop g3, trying, you know, of course he should have gone to e3. And then I would take it from there, but not so easy to win. For instance, if he plays this, yeah, that was a mistake. Now the computer suggests this, but I'm not so sure what the plan is. Sorry, what does the computer suggests this again? Yeah, but then I should find another positive plan. Well, I mean, we cannot keep repeating the moves, yeah. So queen f6, but what would be the idea of queen f6 there? Well, one idea is always to go bishop h2. No, because there's a rook, a bishop c5. So what am I threatening here? Bishop c5? Yeah, it would just be a lot of back and forth. A lot of back and forth. Okay, so let's just imagine he makes this move, huh? As suggested by the computer. How could I continue if he is suggesting this plan? Oh, Waldemar, next time just exchange those dark squared bishops. Oh, how experienced can you be and play these these positions bad technically? So again, more defense of the dark squares there. And now he wants to switch to the F file. Yeah, that was some sort of a plan I had also. Bishop G2, Queen F4. Ah, this is one way of probing. This is one way of probing. Okay, I might be getting there very slowly, very slowly. My threat now is to take and then to take on G3. And let's say if you play like this, you start playing the G file again. But you see, it's toing and throwing and very difficult. It takes a lot of time. But anyway, after my suggested exchange of bishops here, he went here. And now, of course, I just simply exchanged there. And then the strongest move would have been Queen F4, but I just wanted to eliminate here. Of course, I calculated that if he takes, he cannot take on C7 because for the moment the bishop is hanging. So I just wanted to go into this end game. But you see how we go back and forth, huh? King E2 was played. Yeah, so again, it's just winning, I suppose. Yeah, Queen H1 was also very nice with the idea of Rook F7 or something. Then threatening Knight E4, and if ever Bishop to G2 to protect that, then my queen will completely switch to the queen side, immediately winning. I went back here, missing that opportunity. Queen E3 was played, and Rook F7. Yeah, again a little bit slow. Now he took here. If he would have played something else, like Knight C3, then my idea was actually to go King G6. I don't know how he likes that. Well, no, he likes that. Okay. So I went Rook F7. Now he took here. We played this. Now my plan is a little bit easier. I just run up the king. He wants to go via G6. Well, it doesn't matter, of course. Bishop goes here and here, here, here. I was expecting definitely Knight E2 just to keep me out of G3. But he played this move to, yeah, and now I'm just winning this material, huh? I was thinking, should I take on B2 or very nastily just go here? Yeah, okay, now that I see it and that we know that Knight B2 was a little bit dangerous, this would have been much stronger because also I'm hitting F3. If he takes here, it's just this and F3 is falling. This is just horrendous. This would have been immediately winning. With more time, I definitely would have played that. But next time, I should find such moves. But can you really blame me? It's -6 still, yeah? Now he's trying to lock in. But I go forward. Now he locks me in even more. And I took this pawn. Yeah, nothing wrong with that, right? Now I missed the best plan. Now I missed the best plan. I played this move, yeah, which gives away quite a lot of my advantage. So he says King G2. One idea is to go King F4 E3. I did not see that. I did not see that maneuver. So if he now threatens my knight, he still thinks that this is tremendous. Yeah, I was also thinking about these lines, and that now, of course, somehow this G pawn is very difficult to stop. Yeah, I could have done that. My apologies. I was thinking of doing that here immediately. Check, and then Rook F3. So again, I choose the suboptimal technical solution. I was a little bit afraid somehow, but all my pawns are on dark squares, right? So they only attack here. I can always just go back or just immediately, my apologies, immediately promote. This g-pawn cannot be stopped. The knight is too far away, and the pawn, the king is cut off, then the bishop cannot take it. Okay, that needs a little bit more time to evaluate, but I should be faster at those things. So g4 is just really giving myself a hard time here. What on earth was I trying? Rook f2, definitely. Yes, this was correct. This was also correct. Now he played this. And then, what did I play here? Knight a4. Yeah, knight a4, because now I get to free up my knight. Knight c3 is, well, it's not the most correct apparently. Oh, it is. Knight c3, it's the top choice, okay. Bishop f3. Knight takes a2, that's all very nice, because now I have this a pawn. So it felt like I made my task more difficult here, because he gets some sort of counterplay here. King h4 was incorrect. Okay, but I thought I would have to go to g3 with my rook very fast. So what was the computer calculating? If he just goes g6 here. This check. Yeah, I was looking for some sort of a mate, huh? Oh, this. Okay, I didn't see this. No, I didn't see this. Then he goes here. And then we can just take here, because on the next move we get to put the rook on the g-file. Yeah. Okay, so that was a defense by means of counterattack. Here I'm trying to set up a slightly more passive defense, but again it gives up some of my advantage. Rook h3 is the only move, yes, okay. I'm playing like this, and I get to keep the pawn under control. And now knight e6 is, according to the computer, a blunder. I play knight b4, which is very strong. What? Okay, he should have tried to take all the other pawns. Yeah, with knight e8 to d6. So you see, I did let it spin out of control. That was not very good. Knight e6, knight b4, king f2, and now I'm just running bishop d1, a3, bishop there. That doesn't really stop me. I could have played a2 immediately. Somehow I wanted to check and also have the possibility of knight f4 available, just to attack the defender of the g7 pawn. And now I realized, let's just castle. Takes, and of course here it's end of story. Okay, well, it's a bit of up down game. Let's just take a look at the graph. So my opponent definitely had some typical King's Indian advantage there, and then I decided to go ahead with f5, which was wrong. But then he allowed me to come back on the king side, and then I sort of never gave that advantage back really, but 4 inaccuracies, 3 mistakes and 0 blunders. Let's take a look at the mistakes just to be sure. f5 was played, find a better move. Well, I think he wants us to go still with this c6 stuff, yeah? But then it's better to do that with the knight on f6. g4 was played. Yeah, better was just to try this technical solution. Okay, and king h4 was played when I should have tried this defense by means of counterattack. Okay, that was it basically. Let's review white's mistakes. f3 was played. Yeah, probably it was better just to go here and just allow f4 and take on c5 and just immediately crush me on the light squares. Rook g6 was played. View the solution. Well, anything is better here. I don't know what the computer suggests. Knight a to b5. That was the plan all along. And then here you should retreat. Or rook g2. Maybe the computer wants rook g2 actually. So let's view the solution. Yeah, he wants rook g2. Okay. Then bishop f1 was played. I don't know what is the solution here. Okay, not trade pieces, just defend as many squares as possible. Entry squares. But there also appears to be an immediate rook g2 now, yeah? Okay, it's just a difficult position. Yeah, here he definitely had to go back. And bishop g2 was played here. Okay, I don't know what else you can try here. View the solution. Just bring the knight back. Yeah, okay. And knight e6, where he should have continued like this. Maybe just try and snap this one off. He will lose this one, but then he will have another passed pawn to try and make my life difficult. Okay, so that was it, guys. End of this video. So please SLC, subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube. Bye bye.